just doing my thing, doing my thing. Oh, you keep hanging. I'm just doing my thing. Oh, you keep hanging.
So I give you solutions, not just here's the problem, but I give you solutions.
I'm just doing my thing. 6 in the morning, yeah, I'm on my dough.
And that's why I wrote the book. It took me, it's about 37 to 40 years of research.
Now I'm flourishing, life's an excursion. If you get it.
When you isolate a vitamin from its whole food form, it becomes nothing more than an isolated chemical, and your body actually has to work harder to break it down to its molecular structure.
Feeling so good, so good.
Welcome everyone to Get Healthy the Wynters Way with the Pure Cure, a complete guide to freeing your life from dangerous toxins. And I'm Sharyn Wynters, and I am so glad to be here today. I have an incredible show lined up, and I think you're going to like this one. I have about 20 different chapters in my book and 20 different areas of concern that need to be addressed and looked at. And the chapter that we're going to talk about today is water. What to do about water. And I'm reminded of the 18th century poet Samuel T. Coleridge, who said in a poem, "Water, water everywhere, but not a bit to drink." And modern man has the same dilemma right now. What we have done to water is so sad. We put chlorine in our water to kill the bacteria, and it's doing the same to us. We have fluoride in our water, where most European countries don't put it in anymore. And then we have pharmaceuticals in our water because the water treatment facilities can't handle it all, so we are drinking everybody else's medications. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to water. But we need to drink water because water needs to hydrate to have a healthy immune system. So my guest today is MJ Pangman, who I consider to be one of the world's leading experts in the field of water. And she's written an incredible book called Dancing with Water. And I'm going to just hold this up. And when I looked and started to read this book, I really realized that water is a dance. It moves, it flows, it swirls, and spins. And our relationship with water is a journey. So I'm going to bring MJ on. We are Skyping her from Utah. I need to put on my headphones. MJ, can you hear me? Are you there?
I can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. I'm so excited for you to be on my show today.
I'm excited to be with you.
Well, great. You are just a walking encyclopedia of water, and I have so many questions that I want to ask you. My first question that I want to ask you is, we all know that water is the foundation of health, and everyone knows that we need to drink clean water. But in your book, you take water to a whole other arena. You talk about a liquid, crystalline state. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's the greatest question there is, because that is the subject of our book. Most other books stop where we start when it comes to the conversation about water. You know, everybody is worried about, like you say, drinking enough water, and that's critical, and drinking the best water that they can, and that's critical, that the water's clean. But there is a whole nother level to this dance that we talk about with water. And dancing with water is about water's liquid crystalline state. We know that there are 3 states of matter, right? Solid, liquid, and gas. But the scientific community is coming to this place where we are understanding now that there is a 4th state of matter. And that matter is that state is the liquid crystalline state. It's a state where, although a substance may be liquid, the molecules are organized in a repeating geometry that changes the characteristics of the substance. And probably the best way for me to describe this to your audience is to use an illustration of a diamond. We all know that a diamond and carbon are the same thing. Carbon and diamond are the same element, but what makes the difference is the molecular organization, or how those molecules are organized into a repeating pattern. And you can see that obviously the change and the difference between a lump of coal, carbon, and a diamond are incredible, and they're very different. And the only difference is the way those molecules are organized. So when we talk about the liquid crystalline state of water, we're talking about something that is very similar. When the molecules are organized into a repeating pattern such that even when water moves, those molecules move together, now we're talking about a whole new world when it comes to water. And the characteristics of the water change. We can document those changes, and they do make a difference in how our bodies respond to the water. And that's the key right there, because we want to know, if we're talking about a different molecular state, if we're talking about a different kind of water, big deal unless it makes a difference. Well, it does, and we're beginning to show that at a scientific level, although we are right on the edge of science. So that's what liquid crystalline water is. It's water that's organized, and the organization is significant too. I'll just go down that road too, because organization allows water to carry energy. It allows water to carry signals and transfer information, which is really water's job in the human body and in biological organisms. So when you put these molecules in this organization that makes it into a liquid crystal, now it's got the capacity to carry signals, carry information, to amplify signals, and to really support your health in a whole new, different way.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So what are these natural forces in nature that keep water alive and energized?
Well, that's kind of the function of the first half of the book, where we talk about the forces in nature that naturally keep water structured and energized. And it starts right with movement, okay? Because water needs to move, just like you and I do. If we become sedentary, things start to gum up and stop, and the flow stops. Well, water is very similar. If water is stagnant and sits for very long, it starts to collect bacteria and harmful microbes, and it loses its energy. You know, if water sits in the sun very long in a puddle in the heat, it just taps its energy very, very rapidly. So water needs to move, and that's the first force and energy that is absolutely critical for water. It needs to move freely. We send water through straight pipes to deliver it to our homes throughout our municipalities, but that kind of movement is restricted movement, and actually is one of those things that steals water's energy. So when water's allowed to move, it always creates vortices. It always spins. Whenever it hits a rock, it curls back on itself and creates an eddy or a spiral. And as it turns out, spirals are one of those keys universally to why the universe doesn't wind down. Spirals are found in galaxies, in solar systems, in the spin of planets, in the spin of electrons around an atom. They're found, the spiral is found even in your DNA. So that force in nature, the spiraling movement, gathers energy. And so when you allow water to move, even if it's shaking it, the water is going to create these little spirals just naturally. So spiraling movement is one of the forces in nature that is absolutely necessary. The second force in nature that's necessary is some form of electromagnetic energy. Of course, the Earth is a big magnet, and when water moves naturally as she flows through rivers and streams, through her course and her journey, she's being exposed to the electromagnetic field of the Earth, as well as the electromagnetic fields of minerals, because every mineral has its own field, its own frequency. You combine those with movement, And as long as water has minerals in it, then you've got movement, electromagnetic fields in the earth, and minerals that interplay in a very beautiful way to allow water to stay energized, to stay organized, and to hold and carry information.
Wow, that's amazing. In your book, you tell people how to make their own crystalline water. How do you do that?
Well, that's one of the beauties of the book, we think, is because it can be as simple as stirring your water. It can be as simple as shaking your water to a certain degree, as long as the water's clean and as long as you're starting with a clean slate. Those are very energizing things to do for water. Then if you start to add magnets to your pitcher, opposing magnets, which we show you how to do in the book, stirring the water within that electromagnetic field again. We tell people how to add salts to their water, because salts are the way that water carries its minerals. When you move water through the electromagnetic fields, you break those minerals down and make them more biologically available. So there are 100 different ways to gather movement, electromagnetic fields, and the minerals in water in order to restructure water in order to create this liquid living crystal. I'm going to just show your audience here something that's very simple. This is a little collar that's got magnets along it, and you hook it to a couple of bottles of water, turn it upside down, create your vortex, and the water spins through the magnetic field, moving the way water wants to move. And you have to, do this a number of different times, but it can be quite a meditative and beautiful way to connect with the water. So it can be as simple as something like that, which we talk about in the book, and tell people other different ways. You can use minerals and stones. There are many different stones that have a molecular structure that's very supportive for water. In fact, quartz crystals are one of them. People have put quartz crystals in their water for centuries. And, we've thought that was an old wives' tale, but come to find out, there is a principle called epitaxy. And material science understands that when you put a substance in a liquid, the molecular organization of that substance has an influence on the molecular organization within the liquid. So even just using some stones that have a molecular organization similar to water will make a very big difference in water. So there are all kinds of things that you can do for water to bring back its life, to re-energize it, and to create this liquid crystalline state that then can support your health.
That's amazing. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with Dancing with Water and MJ Pangman. And I'm Sharyn Wynters, and we'll be right back. I was just dancing for a minute.
Good idea.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so we're back. I'm Sharyn Wynters with The Pure Cure and A Complete Guide to Freeing Your Life from Dangerous Toxins. And my guest today is the fabulous MJ Pangman, and we are talking about water. That little demonstration was fascinating because I have a unit that I'm going to show right now, a little device that incorporates everything that you talked about, the way nature uses to create liquid crystalline water. So I'm going to get up and I'm going to put it on, and maybe you can talk about it, would you?
Okay. I can't see it, so tell me when you've got it running. I know you use a little device called the Duet, which is a premium device for structuring water for those who like to really automate the process. And it gathers, just like we've been talking about, these three forces in nature. It spins the water within a magnetic field. There's a little, have you got it running, Sharyn?
Okay, I'm going to put it on.
Okay. There you go, I can hear it.
Can you hear it? And wait, here it comes. There's the vortex.
All right.
and it is spinning. I just love my unit, and I love the name of it. It's called a duet because it is part of music.
It is. It's a wonderful way to dance with the water.
Yeah. And
And, you know,
also on here, MJ, I know you can't see my unit, but I've put little things on it like joy, gratitude, love, peace, and so that's all being infused in the unit.
That's awesome.
Can you see it? Can you see it now? No, she can't see.
I can't see you.
Okay. So
That's okay. That's really beautiful because, you know, each of those words carries a frequency
right,
and a vibration.
right.
And those vibrations of love and gratitude, whatever words you've got on your duet there, are incredible for water. Water is about emotions. And so it carries the frequency of emotions. And we talked about how water will carry signals. Yes, absolutely. It will carry those frequencies into the water that's being made, and then you're drinking that. Every time you drink, you're drinking a little more joy, a little bit more gratitude, and what a wonderful way to support yourself on a higher plane. And it's all good. So, I didn't get to explain what else was happening in that little duet. You've got a mineral basket in the base of that pitcher, and it releases minerals. So a person who drinks distilled water, who may only have that kind of water available to them as a clean source of water, or reverse osmosis water, both of those are what I call empty water, and they need to be remineralized. Well, there's a mineral basket in the base of the pitcher that releases a tiny amount of minerals, but even more so, it releases the frequency of a mineral blend into the water. So the water is imbued with the frequency of many minerals, and some of those minerals have electromagnetic forces themselves.
I'm going to shut this off because it's making too much music. So I'm going to shut it off. I think our audience gets the drift
Picture.
the drift.
It's a nice and beautiful way, and I know you offer that for people to purchase on your website, so they might want to have a look at it. There's more information, and
Yeah,
on your website.
You can go to my website, www.wintersway, WYNTERSWAY, and I have that on my website. And I want to ask you another question. What about research? Is there any type of research that drinking this kind of water has any influence or difference to a person's health?
Well, that's good because that's where we are. We're on the edge of things, and double-blind crossover studies are hard to come by because they're so expensive, and most people won't go there. But it's interesting that you ask, and we've just been talking about the duet because this summer we went to an alternative health clinic and had them do some testing because alternative clinics often have kinds of equipment that will measure the body's responses to different kinds of things. And they use that kind of equipment to help balance people in all kinds of ways to bring them out of a diseased state or any kind of illness or sickness that they may be dealing with. So anyway, we took the duet into them and we said, first of all, do you want to do a before and after scan on yourselves and see if you would be interested in doing some testing with this? And they said, well, okay. And I spent a couple of hours with them at the clinic, and they got so very excited because they could see that rapidly drinking this kind of water was different than just drinking a glass of water. Now, I'm going to say this to your audience. Just drinking a glass of water will go a long way to balance many of your organs and systems. It's just more evidence for the fact that we need to be drinking more good water. But the better the water, the more organs and systems you can balance. And so what they got so excited about was that the duet and the water that the duet produced really brought balance to organs and supported everything else that they were doing. And they decided to do 6 weeks testing with some of their clients. They used heart rate variability, which is a medically approved device that is very, very accurate measure of health and fitness. And they showed some, I mean, they were shocked, even though they were surprised at how good the water was. They were shocked over a 6-week period of time at how this affected some of their clients. And so they, you know, there is a report available. Maybe we should make that available on your website, but showing what happened for people who drank the water over a period of 6 weeks. They were given a duet to take with them, and all they were asked to do was to replace the water that they normally drank, whatever that was, whatever amount that was, with water that they made in the duet. And some dramatic health improvements showed up for some, depending on a person's health, but everyone improved drinking the water. And then they used another kind of biocommunication called the Zytoscan that shows which organs and systems in your body are out of balance. And it's one of the main tools they use in this clinic to help people recover their health. And they purposefully waited for about an hour after drinking the water so that they could get a clear and accurate reading on just how balancing was the water, not just a drink of water, but how balancing was it in the long term. And once again, they were really quite blown away at the fact that out of the pre-scan and the post-drinking the water from the duet, these people were able to balance about half of the out-of-balance organs and systems in their body just with the water alone. That was amazing. And it held. So the clinic is very excited in using the duet. And they also did one other test, which was simply a measure of hydration over a 6-week period of time to show that, yes, drinking this kind of water did improve the amount of water that your cells were able to carry and hold. Because, Sharyn, one of the things that happens when you age is that the intracellular, that's the water inside your cells, gets smaller and smaller. So when you're a baby, the amount of water that's inside your cells versus the amount that's outside your cells is large and decreases with age, and that's kind of a sign of aging now. But they were actually able to show that people were able to improve the amount of water inside their cells very slightly, but that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. So, you know, that's the testing and the research that was done just with the duet. There hasn't been a lot of testing other than that. There are a lot of stories out there about what drinking this kind of water does for people, and it's notorious for helping resolve blood sugar problems. Of course, diabetes is called the thirsty disease in traditional Chinese medicine, and so it can have an impact on diabetes at some levels. And you know, we're certainly not in a place to ever want to make any claims at all, but those kinds of things repeatedly show up for people who say they have more energy, who say they have had a somewhat of a resolution in some blood sugar issues. We know it's more hydrating, and we know it because water is the foundation of everything. We know it can affect a lot of things.
I want to ask you something. You say that water is very programmable. What do you mean by that?
Well, we talked about in the beginning, we said that the water could carry information and signals. And this is one of those areas of science that is still very difficult for the hardcore scientific community to accept, but the innovative quantum scientific community is all over the fact that water does really have memory and the capacity to carry information. So it can hold and carry a program. Just like a quartz crystal can. I mean, that's sort of hard for people to wrap their heads around, but a number of years ago, I can't remember which university actually stored information in a crystal in the form of a video and retrieved it in a holographic video, in a movie, in a video. So quartz crystals with the same molecular structure that we're talking about in water can store information. And, you know, one day, hopefully, we will be able to show in a similar way that water can do the same thing. But all the evidence is, you know, not all the evidence, but a great and increasing body of evidence is showing us that water holds information. And so, Sharyn, you know, you putting those words on your picture is a way of programming the water.
Right.
You're sending those vibrations into the water, and you're sending your intention, which is probably far more important than the energy of those words themselves. Your intention that the water provide for you this joyous, loving, gracious experience is so, so potent. And you know what, Sharyn, I have to take a moment because it comes to me here to say this. We offer a quarterly water meditation, a meditation for the water. And this is coming up at the solstice in a couple of days. Anybody who is interested in working with us to heal the water with our intent, the same kind of thing that we're talking about, we have no idea. We have no idea how powerful we are as human beings, especially when we're healthy and when we, as liquid crystals ourselves, I didn't mention that, but we are liquid crystals too, are healthy and clean and vibrating at a high frequency. Our capacity to impact others, our lives, the global community, the health of the earth, the health of the earth's water is huge. And so I'm going to invite any of your audience to join us in the Meditations for the Water. You can find that on dancingwithwater.com under our tab that says Water Meditations, Heal the Earth's Water. Just once again to say that water is programmable and it will receive your love, and that's kind of the nature of our meditations coming up.
Well, isn't that the work of Emoto?
It is. And he would be the one that would say, you know, put those words on your picture, because, you know, his work showed that when you froze water that had been imprinted or programmed with these frequencies, it froze in beautiful crystals that were very intricate. And when you exposed water to negative vibrations and negative thought forms, the water's ability to maintain this liquid crystalline form shown in the crystals, the little snowflakes, if you will, that Dr. Emoto was photographing, was wiped out. So yes, water is programmable.
We're going to take a short break, MJ, and we'll be back. I have a real interesting question I want to ask you next. So
right.
We'll be back in a couple of dance moments.
Games with me. And what we're both going through is life changing. And I know this should just really go without saying that I'm not even trying to judge a book and blaming, but there's so many obstacles in our way, and there's just certain things that I keep on finding. The more I look, the more the truth becomes blinding, and this road we're on, it just keeps on winding. But our chemistry is so damn binding to you, girl. I have really taken a liking, but it just won't work, no. Nothing more than bad timing to you, girl. I have really taken a liking, but it just won't
We're back.
work, no.
I am Sharyn Wynters, and I have an amazing guest with me, MJ Pangman, and I've just got to say that music that we get lost in here at the studio is my son, Dylan Young, whose birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday, Dylan. I love you so much. And he's just a musical little genius. He wrote, he sings, all the instruments, it's all him. And so if you want to check him out and get his CD that he just released, go to www.sonofwaves, SONOFWAVES, ofwaves.com. And get yourself a CD for Christmas. Anyway, okay, MJ, here's my question. No matter where I go and whenever I'm speaking, water always comes up. And what comes up is the discussion about alkaline water. So let me ask you a question. How does this fit into the picture of structured water, or does it?
Great question. It does come up all the time. And it's a very convoluted subject, I'm going to say, because people have, first of all, gotten the idea oversimplified. They think that because we deal with acidity as we age, and because free radicals cause acidity, because life produces acids, and because most of us tend to have a greater problem with acidity as we age, they think that drinking alkaline water is going to solve that problem. But it's not that simple. If it were that simple, Sharyn, and I don't know how people are missing this one, if it were as simple as drink alkaline or eat alkaline to counter or neutralize acidity, why does drinking lemon juice alkalize the body? Lemons are probably the most acidic fruit, with a pH down there around 2 or 3, close to the pH of your stomach acids. But it has the opposite effect. And so I'm only using that as an illustration that it's not that simple. Your body is a very complex organism, and parts of your body were meant to be alkaline, parts of your body were meant to be acidic. And, unfortunately, one of the issues with alkaline water, besides the fact that it's not as simple as everybody would like to make it, when you drink alkaline water, you disturb the balance in one of the areas of your body that was meant to be acidic, and that is your stomach.
Well, there are two ways to make alkaline water. One is through alkaline drops, and the other is through ionization with all these ionization machines. And do they have the same effect on the body? And yes, it's a real important thing to understand that we need the stomach acids in our digestive system, so that when you are drinking alkaline water, you're disrupting that balance in your digestive system.
Yeah, and that's a great question too, because you're right. There are two ways to make alkaline water, and you can use these pH drops, but that's not something that I would recommend, just simply for the reasons that we've talked about. If you're just trying to increase the pH of the water to neutralize the acids in your body, you're heading about it in an less than effective way. And you, as a proponent of raw food, know that the most effective way to alkalize your body is through eating good raw fruits and vegetables, and staying away from all those processed foods that are acidifying in nature. Okay, so the other way that you've mentioned here is these ionizers that ionize the water, making it alkaline. And so your question originally was, how does this fit into the picture of structured water? Because ionizers are using an electric field. And we said in the beginning of this discussion that electromagnetic fields were one of the things that, along with movement, helped water to maintain its liquid crystalline state, or to recreate it if it has been lost. So yes, when you put water through an ionizer and expose it to this very high voltage electric field, you are structuring the water. However, you are structuring the water in an imbalanced way from our perspective. It's all about balance in life, and nature uses a little bit of this and a little bit of that, the positive, the negative, the feminine, the masculine, the hot, the cold. And when you ionize water, you're using the masculine force, the electric force, in a high voltage, and you're structuring the water, but it's not what we call or refer to as coherent structure. Coherent structure is a structure that when you remove the water from the electric field, or the field that has structured the water, it's going to hold that structure. It's going to have organized a field around itself, if you will, to hold that structure and to keep it. And that's called coherence. When you ionize water, you structure the water, but it doesn't have that coherence to it. And so it begins to degrade rapidly.
I was going to say, so I just got that when you put water through an ionization, basically you're electrocuting the water, you're making it dead.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
Instead of structuring it, which is a vortex of making it alive. Is that off or?
No, you're pretty close. I hesitate to use that strong language because it's so strong, but water is a dipole. It has a positive and negatively charged side. And when it's put in an electric field, it's very kin to being electrocuted. It's not something that I'm going to say makes water happy, if that's even a term we can get away with using here. But it doesn't support water's molecular structure. It doesn't support the natural dipolar arrangement in water. So it may throw it into a kind of a false structure at the time, but it doesn't maintain that. And it's actually a little bit damaging to water's electromagnetic field. So you're right on it in your aha.
But I've talked to people that get all these, they say they get all these great results from drinking alkaline water. What is that about?
Well, there's a reality to that. And the water can be very therapeutic for short periods of time because it's like a drug in some ways. It's a very forceful way to cleanse the body. It does neutralize free radicals, but we're to the point now that we recognize that free radicals play a role. They're a very important part of our immune system. So to go in and just knock out everything straight across the board is really not nature's way again. One of the themes that we kind of bring back around again and again in Dancing with Water is this whole theme of balance. The balance in nature that brings that there's always a destructive force working and there's always a creative force working. And there's a balance between those two that allow evolution and further creation to always be going on planet Earth. And when you upset that balance, you may do some therapeutic things for a period of time because often, when imbalance is the case, it takes a kind of a kick. Well, let's call it, a heart fibrillator, a kick to get things back going again, but you don't want to fibrillate the heart forever, And it's that same kind of thing with water and ionized water. It can have some therapeutic benefits in the short term.
Right. So
but in the long term, it's not a good idea.
It's a short-term effect with a long range could be detriment. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Right.
And I know on your website, which is dancingwithwater.com, you have articles and you have a list of 7 reasons not to drink alkaline water. Is it 7 or 8 reasons?
7 reasons I think we put up there. I don't remember what they all are just right off the bat, but if somebody wants to read them, they begin with this whole thing that it's inappropriate to put that alkaline a substance repeatedly in your stomach. Water in nature is, for the most part, neutral. You can always find variations, but neutral in water is what you're looking for.
So it would be really bad to drink this alkaline water if you're eating food, because you're not supposed to drink water anyway if you're eating food because it slows down the digestion. And as you get older, you lose your hydrochloric acid, which you really need to help with your food. So if you're drinking this alkaline water now, you're really doing a double whammy. Am I right in saying that?
That's one of the reasons we put up in the article, 7 reasons not to drink alkaline water, is this whole issue with aging and the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. Most people over 50 or 60 are what they call hypochlorhydritic. Oh, am I getting the term right? I'm not sure. But the fact that they don't produce as much hydrochloric acid as they did when they were young. And that's all been very documented. And so, when we take antacids, we're kind of doing the wrong thing for our system.
Explain that. What happens when you take antacids? That's a great one.
Well, it may help you in the short term, once again. But in the long term, you're disrupting your body's ability to produce hydrochloric acid. And a baby's body, just like it has more structured water in it, has the capacity to produce more hydrochloric acid in the stomach. Your stomach's ability to produce hydrochloric acid decreases as you age. And so you don't want to do anything to make that worse. Wasn't it Jonathan Wright who did the studies that showed that really people who had digestive problems were much better to take hydrochloric acid supplements to help their stomach digest better, to get a better straight start than they were the antacids. And that's all been pretty well documented with cases again.
Well, and
So,
it struck me is that we take all these medications, over-the-counter drugs, to mask what's really going on. If you need to take antacid, you might want to look at what you're eating that's causing it.
yeah, or the state of your digestive system that needs some help
Right.
in balance.
Right.
So, water's always a good place to start, and raw food is right there. I showed in a talk that I gave not too long ago how the University of Michigan, I believe it was, in their integrative medical department had come up with a new food pyramid. At the bottom of the food pyramid is water. And of course, next is fruits and vegetables, not grains and, seeds. It's, we need fruits and vegetables. They are the acids, the organic acids that help our digestion happen the way it's supposed to happen. And all fruits and vegetables in their raw state are acidic, except for a few herbs. That's interesting to note, too.
Isn't that interesting? That's great. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Nobody rubbing up against me, but it's just better if I set you free. And there's just something about your gaze that makes me wanna just drift away. Oh, I wish you could stay with me. And what we're both going through is life changing, and I know this should just really go without saying that I'm not even trying to judge or put you blaming, but there's so many obstacles in our way, and there's just certain things that I keep on finding. The more I look, the more the truth becomes blinding, and this road we're on, it just keeps on winding. But our chemistry is so damn binding. To you, girl, I have really taken a liking, but it just won't work, no. Nothing more than bad timing. To you, girl, I have really taken a liking, but it just won't work, no. Nothing more than bad timing.
Well, I guess our timing couldn't have been worse. Sealing out the minds, guess I'm feeling this dirt. Feeling on your thighs like killing that pert. Feeding for your smile, but if you was this hurt, I just wanna pick you up as if we grew up this earth. Got a bubbling in my gut like if you was this Kurt. Pissing off every loss till you it was worth nothing. We had something, but it wouldn't work. Got me looking at my celly nearly every minute. Putting off what is on, hope it stays invented. I just wanna be the one that came through and just win it. If involved in it all, then you I'd be ignorant. I don't wanna be the man that'll cause you grief. Too much on a plate, so much to eat. All these hurdles I've jumped, nearly lost my feet, and it costs too much.
Okay, we're back with Get Healthy the Wynters Way with MJ Pangman. You trying to figure out those lyrics, MJ? Boy, how do you sing? Do it
He's a
so.
master. I love his music.
Right. How's he do it so fast?
I don't know. How does any master do it?
And I don't even, I can't even hear it that fast, let alone say it that fast. I want to hold up your book. It's called Dancing with Water. And this book was dancing while Dylan's music was on. And while I'm at it, her MJ's website is dancingwithwater.com. And my book is, I have to plug my book, The Pure Cure, A Complete Guide to Freeing Your Life from Dangerous Toxins. And this is a great Christmas gift to give somebody. So if you haven't gotten a gift for somebody you care about or love, go to my website, www.wintersway.com, and get yourself a autographed copy of my book for Christmas, and I will give it to you for the unautographed price. So anybody that does it this week will get, just pay the cheaper price, and I will autograph it for you. Love to. and give the gift of health. This is an amazing book, and I want to talk to you. Do you think we've talked enough about alkaline water? Do you think people will understand that now?
I don't know if that will ever happen, but
Yeah.
More and more of our health clinics are testing this in the long term and coming up with the same.
Didn't you tell me about was it a friend of yours or somebody who did some testing when she first got the water in her, and some of her tests came up really good, and then 6 weeks later she took it and it went back. What was that? Don't remember. Do you know what story I was talking about?
That's good. This woman called and said, what do you think about ionized water? I've just bought an ionizer. We're going to use ionized water in our clinic. So she was a clinic, and they were testing the water, and they were going to test the water on themselves and some of their clients over a period of time because they got so excited about, all the information that's out there about ionized water. And I said, well, please keep in touch with me because I want to follow this with you. We suspect some things, but I would like to follow your research. And I never heard from her for about 6 months. And she called me and she says, I'm ready to report. And she told me this, it was her story. She didn't ever really conduct a lot of research with clients because that's often quite hard to do. But she said, I watched my intracellular water very carefully on a weekly basis as I began to drink the ionized water. And she said, I watched how my intracellular water improved. And it improved steadily for a period of weeks, up to about 2 or 3 months. She said, and at that same period of time, I was feeling more energy and really, really good. And I was so convinced that that we were really on to something. And then she said, I started to just hit a plateau, and that was fine, get the benefits and stay on the plateau, but she goes, I didn't stay on the plateau. Eventually, drinking the same amount of water under the same circumstances, I watched my intracellular water go right back down to where it was when I started. And she said at the same period of time, I started to feel more and more lethargic, more fatigue in the afternoon, some of the same things I was feeling in the beginning. She said, so in the end, testing my body to see whether my body wanted this water, the answer was no.
Interesting.
So the therapeuticness of it up front was verified. It can be like a medicine. It can be very strong and have some therapeutic benefits to rebalance the body. But long term, we cannot be proponents of it. So that's just our take.
I was thinking about, we were talking, what? Go ahead.
I was just going to say it was interesting that she corroborated that with her own personal experience.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about water and health. What about water and consciousness? Can we say that water really affect the spiritual frame of reference?
Well, I love that question, Sharyn. Because that's really where people like you and I want to take this. We want to be involved in things that will raise our level of consciousness, that will help us to be, be the change. I think is your statement I read, be the change we want to see.
Well, that was Gandhi, but I've taken that on.
Okay,
it's so powerful. Yeah, it's so powerful.
So we're looking for things in our lives that will help us to stay at a higher level of vibration. And one of the things I just notice as I look back is that, when I connected with water, I've been writing in the field of complementary medicine for a number of years. But when I connected with this whole concept of water, structured water, programmable water, it became such a part of me, and it's the time in my life when my spiritual journey really began. My journey was just a journey until I brought in this whole idea of water and what, it just became a part of my spiritual development. So, I can say that other people have said the same thing, but honestly, anything you do to raise your vibration, whether that's improve your health, is going to connect you at a deeper level with who you are, you know, and you're going to gravitate to more spiritual things. So we're really believers, myself, and I have a partner in the book, Melanie Evans, who is the co-author. She and I really, really are proponents of stepping into the dance with water and allowing it to take you to a place you've never been before.
Yeah. You know, I have a ritual every morning. I get up and I do my meditation and think of 10 things that I'm grateful for. So it puts me in that framework of living in the moment of gratitude. And then I come out to the kitchen and I make my my duet water, and I have a glass of that water with lemon and a little sometimes I put some mineral salts in there, and just bless. It's just an incredible to start my morning with that kind of ritual, with that kind of. I think we've lost these rituals in America. The American Indians had a lot of rituals and ceremony, and we've lost that aspect in this country. We're also busy, you know, putting the cup of coffee in the microwave oven, and you know, people I guess do that, you know, and just getting out. We've become busy doings instead of, you know, human beings. We're human doings, and it's nice to connect with water. I feel a connection. I love my duet. I absolutely love it, and when I turn it on, I take a moment and I look at the words that I put in there, because it's a reminder and a reflection to me of what I want in my life. I want joy, I want love, I want happiness, I want gratitude, I want all those things, and so I'm drinking that in. How powerful is that?
That's powerful. That's awesome. You know, the Native Americans have a tradition where they hold the water to their heart. And it's the same kind of thing. Whenever you hold anything to your heart, you go inward and you reflect. And of course, that is blessing the water and sending all of that heart energy into the water, which you drink and then becomes a part of you. How lovely.
Yeah.
The opening of your day is just awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure you have an opening of your day just as well. knowing you, MJ. Do you go out to your, I bet it's cold there in Utah. You're in Utah.
It's cold.
Well, we actually had rain here in Los Angeles today, and the freeways were all mucked up, and people do not know how to drive here in Los Angeles when it rains. You know, I'm from Philadelphia, and, you know, drove in the snow, and, you know, it was nothing, and now it's like it rains and everything stops here in this town. I have
Maybe
time.
That's
Maybe that's good. Maybe that's good. I have one more question to ask you. And it's interesting because a couple of weeks ago I was in Calabasas, and a friend of mine wanted to make me some of my herbal tea, and I said sure, I'll have it because he drinks it, and he started to make it with water from the tap, and I went, "Are you kidding me?" He says, "Oh, Calabasas water is the best." I went, "You've got to be kidding me." So what do you say to people when they just say water is just water? How do you handle that?
I mean, that's a hard one, because there are some people that you'll never bring off of that. And, you know, there's lots of websites out there that are completely tearing this kind of subject that we've talked about today apart. But they're the people who haven't really looked at this carefully. I'm reminded of one of the latest books that was published this spring, called The Fourth Phase of Water, Beyond Solid, Liquid, and Vapor. It's Dr. Gerald Pollack's work from the University of Washington in his lab over a period of years, showing that water is not just water. That when you create this liquid crystalline state, there are all kinds of parameters that change. So, you know, people who still think water is just water just need to come to the party, I guess. Come to the dance. We got to invite them to the dance.
Yeah. There's a great massage, and I just, name escapes me, where you do it in a pool, and there's a bunch of salt in it. Do you know what I'm talking about? And they hold your head and they just flow you around. Oh, the name will come to me because I love. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I can't remember the name. It starts with a W.
Oh, It does. After we're off, I'll think of it. But
it's a beautiful technique. It's
yeah.
a beautiful technique.
And you
for
just float in this water, and the salt, and it's heated, and the salt keeps you up, and they take you underneath the occipital, which is behind your neck, and you just float around, and it is such an incredible feeling of freedom, of being totally free in this water space. So I also just put in a saltwater pool because I don't want the chlorine in my...
Wow, awesome.
Yeah. MJ, do you have any parting words about water that you think that you wanted to talk about?
You know, part of my mission is just to help people connect with water at this conscious level. So the next time you take a drink of water, just look down into it, swirl it around, take a moment and be still for a moment. Hold it to your heart and give gratitude for this substance which really is you and which is the foundation of your life. And just take it from there. Take it to the next step of the dance in whatever way that is for you. But, you know, connect with the water, express gratitude, live in love.
And I take gratitude because you're in my life. You've been just one of my angels, and I am so blessed to have worked with you and know you. And I love you, MJ. So thank you for being there and, you know, coming on my show and being so open with your knowledge. I so appreciate you. And once again, if you want some information, please go to her website, dancingwithwater.com. And you can go to my website and get her book, because I have her book on my website. And you can find out more about the duet on my website, www.wintersway.com. And for everybody out there, have a glass of water. Namaste.
Just do my thing, do my thing. Oh, you keep hanging. I'm just do my thing. Oh, you keep hanging.
So I give you solutions, not just here's the problem, but I give you solutions.
I'm just